On the afternoon of Friday, the 13th of August, 1971, a black Cadillac pulls out of the White House South driveway and turns north toward the Catoctin Mountains of western Maryland. Inside are 15 men. The President of the United States, his Treasury Secretary, his Federal Reserve Chairman, his Budget Director, his speechwriter, and 10 of the most senior economic advisors in the American government. They have been told to bring weekend clothes and no telephones. They have not been told why. 48 hours later, on the evening of Sunday the 15th, the same 15 men will return to Washington. 2.5 hours after that, on a televised address that preempts the popular show Bonanza, the president will speak for 20 minutes. Inside those 20 minutes, in 2 sentences, in less than 90 seconds of on-air time, he will end the international monetary system that has governed the global economy since 1944. He will end the connection between the dollar and gold that has existed, in some form, since 1879. He will end the convertibility between paper money and metal that has been a feature of every major civilization since the Lydians struck the first electrum coin in roughly 600 BC. He has not warned the British. He has not warned the French. He has not warned the Germans or the Japanese. He has not consulted the International Monetary Fund. He has not informed his own State Department. The dollar in your pocket today still bears the consequences. In 1957, the United States held 20,000 metric tons of gold, roughly 2/3 of the entire monetary gold on Earth. Fort Knox alone held more than 13,000 tons, the deepest, hardest-to-move pile of monetary metal in human history. By August 1971, less than half of it remained. The reason was simple. Under the Bretton Woods system, foreign central banks could exchange their dollar holdings for American gold at $35 an ounce, the rate set by Harry Dexter White in 1944. For 20 years, almost nobody did. The dollar was as good as gold. Then slowly, the world stopped believing it. The Vietnam War was financed by printing dollars. The Great Society was financed by printing dollars. By 1965, more dollars existed abroad than there was American gold to back them. By 1968, the gap had become an embarrassment. Charles de Gaulle was the first to call the bluff. France, under his orders, sent a battleship to New York Harbor, loaded it with American gold redeemed against French dollar balances, and sailed it back to the Banque de France. Germany followed. Switzerland followed. Britain followed. By August 1971, the run was a rout. The United States no longer held enough gold to honor outstanding dollar claims. Not at $35 an ounce. Not at any price. The man Nixon brings to Camp David to draft the speech is not his Treasury Secretary by training. He is a politician. John Connally is a Texas Democrat, former governor of Texas, former Secretary of the Navy, the man who was sitting in the seat in front of John F. Kennedy on the 22nd of November, 1963, when the bullets came through the limousine in Dallas. He took one of them through the chest. He survived. In December 1970, Nixon makes him Secretary of the Treasury, a Republican president appointing a Democrat to the most important economic office in the government. Nixon's reasoning is simple. He needs a tough negotiator who is not bound by the orthodoxies of either party. He gets one. Connally's famous remark to a meeting of European finance ministers delivered in February 1971 captures the entire posture of the American government during this period. Quote, "The dollar is our currency, but it's your problem." End quote. He means it literally. 6 months later, he will translate that statement into policy at Camp David. The 15 men arrive at Camp David on the afternoon of Friday, the 13th of August. Nixon retreats to Aspen Lodge with Connally, Federal Reserve Chairman Arthur Burns, Budget Director George Shultz, and speechwriter William Safire. Around the cabin perimeter, Secret Service agents have orders to confiscate any telephone equipment that any aide attempts to use. On the table are 3 decisions. First, what to do about inflation, which is running at 5% and rising. Decision, a 90-day wage and price freeze, the first peacetime price controls in American history. Second, what to do about the trade deficit, the first in 78 years. Decision, a 10% surcharge on every imported good entering the United States. a unilateral tariff against every nation on Earth, including allies. Third, and this is the one that matters, what to do about the gold drain. Burns, the Federal Reserve Chairman, argues for raising the official gold price from $35 to $40 an ounce, a devaluation, but a controlled one. Connally argues for shutting the gold window entirely, no conversion at any price, indefinitely. Nixon listens. Nixon agrees with Connally. Sapphire is told to write the speech. At 10 minutes past 9 on Sunday evening, the 15th of August, 1971, Richard Nixon walks into the Oval Office and sits down at the Resolute desk. A single television camera is trained on him. 3 networks carry the address. He speaks for 20 minutes. For the first 15 of those minutes, he talks about jobs, about inflation, about taxes. He announces the wage and price freeze. He announces the import surcharge. The audience watching at home, 60 million Americans tuned in instead of Bonanza, is broadly receptive. Then at minute 16, embedded in a single paragraph, he says 2 sentences. Quote, "I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interests of the United States." End quote. The word temporarily is doing more work in that sentence than any single word has ever done in American economic policy. 55 years later, the suspension is still in effect. The convertibility has never been restored. The Bretton Woods system, designed at the Mount Washington Hotel in 22 days in July of 1944, is dead inside 90 seconds. The first phone calls go out at 4 in the morning, Washington time. Treasury staff are instructed to inform the major foreign embassies of the policy change only after the speech has aired, never before. In London, the Chancellor of the Exchequer is woken by a junior aide. The aide reads him the relevant passage of the speech from a teleprinter feed. The Chancellor calls the Bank of England. They have no instructions. In Paris, the Finance Ministry's reaction is captured in a memo to President Pompidou. Quote, "The Americans have abandoned the system they themselves built without consultation, without warning, and with the diplomatic finesse of a slammed door." End quote. In Tokyo, the Bank of Japan, holding more than $4 billion of unconvertible American IOUs, does the only thing it can. It buys more. Every yen on the Japanese spot market is sold for dollars in the next 48 hours, in a desperate attempt to defend the yen-dollar peg at 360. It fails. By Friday, the yen has floated upward by 7%. Within 4 months, every major currency on Earth is floating against the dollar. The world has entered a monetary regime that has never existed before. Pure paper, backed by nothing but state declaration, fiat. For 2.5 years after the Nixon shock, the dollar is in genuine danger. Without gold backing, what makes a dollar valuable? Nothing except the faith of those who hold one. By 1973, gold has tripled in price. Oil, paid for in dollars, has quadrupled. Inflation in the United States is running at 11%. Then Henry Kissinger gets on a plane. In June 1974, Nixon's Secretary of State flies to Riyadh and meets with King Faisal of Saudi Arabia. The deal he proposes is simple, audacious, and unwritten. The Saudis will price all OPEC oil exclusively in dollars. Every barrel sold by Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, the Emirates, and, through OPEC pressure, eventually every barrel sold by anyone, will be priced and settled in American dollars. In exchange, Saudi Arabia gets 3 things: American military protection, including modern weaponry, a formal seat in the IMF, weighted to its new oil wealth, and the right to recycle its dollar surplus into U.S. Treasury bonds on favorable terms, off the public auction process. The Saudis say yes. The Shah of Iran says yes. Within 24 months, every member of OPEC says yes. The dollar no longer has gold behind it. It has oil behind it, or more precisely, it has the only currency in which the world is allowed to buy oil, which between 1974 and approximately the present day has been enough. Between 1971 and 2026, the United States runs 48 consecutive years of trade deficits. It runs federal budget deficits in 50 of the 55 years. It expands the supply of dollars from $180 billion in 1971 to roughly $21 trillion in 2026, a 116-fold increase. In a system that was designed in 1944 to make such an increase mathematically impossible. The dollar buys today what about 13 cents bought in 1971. Gold in nominal dollar terms has risen from $35 to roughly $2,500 an ounce, a 71-fold increase against the asset it was once supposed to be equivalent to. And yet, against all economic intuition, the dollar has not collapsed. Through the inflation of the 70s, the Volcker rates of the 80s, the dot-com bust, the 2008 crisis, the pandemic, it remains the unit in which 60% of all global trade is denominated. It remains the unit in which 59% of all foreign central bank reserves are held. It remains, by every measure, the most powerful currency in human history. The reason is the deal Kissinger struck in 1974. As long as the world has to buy oil, and as long as oil is priced in dollars, the dollar is the world's currency. In 2024, for the first time in 50 years, Saudi Arabia let its dollar oil pricing agreement quietly expire. In 2026, Iran is selling oil to China in yuan. Central banks have, in the past 5 years, bought more gold than at any other point in modern history. The system Nixon built in 90 seconds on a Sunday evening in 1971 is now 55 years old. No reserve currency in recorded history has lasted longer than about 100 years. On Wednesday, the 16th of September, 1992, a Hungarian-born hedge fund manager named George Soros sold £10 billion sterling short in a single trading day against the Bank of England. The bank fought back. It raised interest rates from 10 to 15% in 5 hours. It spent £27 billion defending the currency. It lost. By close of business, the pound had crashed out of the European exchange rate mechanism. By close of business, Soros had personally made $1 billion. By close of business, the post-Bretton Woods era had produced its first individual who had successfully attacked a sovereign currency for profit. Next time on Empires of Money, the day one man broke the Bank of England and what it means that he could.